Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 2024 film VHS Beyond. We get one of these every single year now, don't we? And this is directed by, well, a bunch of different directors. One that includes Justin Long, may I add, and also stars a bunch of actors. I mean, there's way too many to name here, guys, because this, of course, is a 6-part anthology film. Here we have a zombie kidnapping with a twist, a celebrity with a sinister truth, a horrific skydiving event, a sweet dog-minder lady who may not be what she seems, and an explorer looking for UFOs in the desert. Now, I know that's only 5, but in my opinion, this really is 5. There is another little segment going on between the other segments, and when we finally get to the end of that, it is like a minute or two. So that to me doesn't really count as a 6 story. It just didn't feel like one compared to the rest of the stories that we got there. But Shudder says it is, so technically there is 6, I suppose. Anyway, I have only seen a handful of the VHS films. I haven't seen them all, but each one that I watch always seems to have a segment or a story that will let the other ones down. I mean, there's usually 2 in there with 3 good ones. So imagine my shock when I just finished the 4th story and I was loving everything I'd seen so far. Now, as a horror fan, of course, I will always want to see cool little horror stories, and I've got to say, all of these segments here, bar one really got the imagination going. I mean, they were all creepy, all interesting, all felt quite original, and I just wanted to go home and write my own horror stories. I used to do a lot of writing back in the day, and this really did want to get me back into that, just showing what can be done with concepts that you wouldn't even think will be in horror in the first place. Take the skydiving segment here, which for me is the best segment of this entire film, but when you see a skydiving event where it's going to be in a horror film, you will probably think that someone's going to get their parachute cut, or someone didn't deploy themselves properly and falls to their death, or something's going to happen to the plane before they jump out. But it does something totally different with that concept, and I was like, oh, this is so clever. I really enjoyed what they did with that. And I've got to say, there was a really cool jump scare in this part that I just didn't see coming at all. But there's also this really cool directional choice in the first movie, which kind of plays like a first-person shooter. And we are just going around this house with these infected people running everywhere, and we are seeing it all from the cameraman's point of view. And one minute a chainsaw comes out and starts chopping people up, and I just thought it was so awesome, so smart. And I was, as a video game fan, I was loving that story as well. But this movie absolutely goes for it with the violence. I mean, especially in the second story, there are faces being peeled off here. It doesn't hold back from the violence or the gore, and it all quite looks realistic for the most part. I'll get onto that in a minute. But with these practical effects and stuff here, I thought they were awesome. I mean, I think the team done a really great job of making this look quite realistic in places, because I think you've got to kind of get that from the found footage genre, haven't you? It's all meant to be made to look realistic, and when it does go for the blood and gore, it pulled it off the majority of the time. Now, VHS Beyond goes for a sci-fi horror concept this time, where it's, instead of just having horror as their stories, there's a sci-fi twist on it, and I was actually happy with that. Something a little bit different there. All taking place around people being abducted by aliens, or aliens visiting us, and UFO sightings. That stuff to me is kind of creepy anyway, so to see VHS do a twist on that with these stories was a nice little surprise. Although one story kind of just feels left out there, and it is one of the better stories, but I don't know what it had to do with sci-fi horror really. This movie is definitely not going to be for everyone, especially if you're not a found footage horror fan, of course. But especially this movie, I mean, there are some really fast moving camera movements here, and I've heard people say that found footage can actually make them feel nauseous and stuff. So if that is you, don't go near this film, because there are people jumping out of planes with the camera spinning everywhere here. There's people running around the houses really, really fast, trying to get away from certain things and stuff. So that may not work for you, but for me, I just see that as found footage being used to its full potential. Now, I will say there is some subpar acting in this film. I mean, some of the performances are good, but some of them are really mediocre and kind of below average. Let's take Story 3, for example, which was my favourite part, like I've said, but the characters in that straight away were really grating on me and really annoying me. And I was just like, yeah, I hope you all die. I mean, the main protagonist of that story, who we kind of get behind, kind of had the same voice as the guy from Deadstream, if you've seen that found footage film from last year. And that was my biggest negative of that film. And it just really did remind me of that. So there are certain characters that you just can't get behind here. Also, as good as the practical effects are when people are being killed and stuff, some of the monster designs here, or alien designs if you like, are used with pretty bad CGI. I mean, I just don't think CGI belongs in horror, guys. It always takes me out the movie 99% of the time. And here, I don't think they've done a good job of it at all. And I'm very sad to say that even though when faces are being peeled off and stuff, or limbs are being ripped off, it looks awesome. But the odd time they threw some CGI blood in there. Please do not put CGI blood in found footage horror movies. So it's a little bit of a balance there that they got right a lot of the time, but some of the time it was just noticeable how bad it was. However, VHS Beyond is kind of let down by its fifth and sixth, if you want to call it that, stories. After having such a great run for the first hour and a half of this film with these 4 amazing stories that were just really great to watch and really fun and just felt really cool, the fifth story definitely brings the pace down a little bit, and it just seemed like it didn't fit with the other stories. This one didn't feel as clever or as better thought out, and it just took a while to get through it, and I was just not caring what was going on. It didn't really look as good visually as the other ones either. It felt like it was from a different anthology film, if you like. It just didn't have that quality. And the sixth story, like I said, which takes place in all the other segments, was just wasted for me, personally. But the first 4 stories, guys, are great. But for me, guys, this is probably the best VHS I have seen ever. I mean, I haven't seen them all, like I said, I've only seen a handful. But this is the one I could see myself returning to the most. They are churned out every year. But even so, this was a nice little surprise for October. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give VHS Beyond a 7.5 out of 10. If you like found footage, but you want a little sci-fi twist on there with the horror, what are you waiting for? Give this a go. Hey guys, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for VHS Beyond is that one of these segments was actually directed by Kate Siegel, who is the wife of Mike Flanagan, the famous horror director who we all know and love. Unfortunately, his segment was the fifth story, which was my least favourite, but oh well. Okay guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. Please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to this channel if horror is your sort of thing. If you want more 2024 horror movie reviews, they'll be in the link down below. Thanks so much, you take care, and I'll see you on the next video.